Hey guys, welcome to Life of P&K. The car is behind me. By the name of this video, you probably know what we're doing, but also you're wondering how. Because you can see online many people saying to keep, especially the stock system, to keep the valves open all the time, to get the most loudness you can get out of the exhaust, you can do a couple things. You can remove the fuse in the back of the car, but you have to, put the car in Sport Plus mode, drive around for a little bit to warm up so the valves are fully open, and then you just remove the fuse and the valve will stay open all the way. We just don't know what exactly this fuse also does. I'm not sure if there's research on it somewhere, but I'm not sure what the fuse does. So I want to keep the fuse in there. And also another option that actually works pretty well is doing the same thing, but without removing the fuse, you just unplug the valve once it's fully open. This will keep the valve at that state at all time, unless you plug it back in again. But then you run risks of the little connector unless you use like electrical tape to cover it and stuff like that and put it somewhere to get damaged, and you don't want to do that. So thanks to the people at xbeamer.com forums, they're very helpful, they're very knowledgeable, a lot of them. I was kind of like looking through the threads, to the topics, and I was able to find this method that can keep the valves open at all time. And that was very interesting for that because the CSZ exhaust that I got has two valves. And when you go in Comfort and Eco right now, it's super quiet because both valves are pretty much closed at all time unless necessary. So it depends on the mode you're on, but most of the time they're closed unless you're in Sport Plus or Sport. That's when they open at its maximum. So it's very curious because I do like driving in Comfort most of the times. That's why I find myself driving, especially if I'm with the dogs and my wife. We don't want the extra firm ride, so we drive in Comfort most of the time. But the sound is a lot quieter than stock. So I was curious, how can I do this to where I can control the valves inside the car, have them open at all time whenever I want to, without impacting what driver mode I'm in. So let's say I'm in Eco, the valves are open. I'm in Sport, the valves are open. I wanted to have that. So thanks to the members from the forums, I was able to find this. And let me show you how it is. All you need is BimmerCode and an OBD connector, like a Wi-Fi connector, to do the process. You have to go in expert mode and select two things at the same time to activate them for this to work. One is, I believe, to have the valves programmed. I don't know, I'm not an expert. But one I believe is to control the valves, and the other one is to see this menu in the actual infotainment screen so you can control it in there. We're gonna go inside and outside the car. You guys gonna hear how the valves are clicking, opening, and closing. I'm gonna go through the whole process all together. So let's get going. So first you need one of these, and what this is basically plugs into the OBD port and it gives you connection to your phone. I use OBD Link CX. I think this is the best one on the market. Might be a little bit pricier than the other options, but I've never had issues with not being able to program things to this car with this. This has been great. I keep it in a neat shape, you can tell. But this is what it looks like basically. It's right here. That's it. That's pretty much it. It's like a little thing that connects to your phone or allows your phone to connect to the car. OBD Link CX. And you plug it right down here. The OBD port is right here. I'm not sure if you can see well on the camera. So you just plug it in to make sure it's pointing the right way. And it's really easy. I just make sure I press it well. And you can see it already showing that it's connected. And it's working well. The next thing you have to do is grab BimmerCode. This you have to pay for. I can't remember. It's a long time ago since I paid. But I think it was like 20, 30 bucks or so, maybe less, maybe more, here and there. But this is what you need to use to connect to the OBD connector to talk to the car. It's really simple. I press connect. It tells you which adapter you have. You can see it's already selected OBD Link CX. There's many adapters you can use, as you can tell, but none of them actually work as well. You can also use the Ethernet cable, which probably is the best way, to be honest. But if you want to use like a connector, it's fine. I also have the Thor connector, which is the pink one. It's this one. This one works great for the XHP transmission tune that I have on the car. I never had issues with this one. I recommend this one for that. Anything else, I would use this guy. You can use whatever works for you, whatever you can find affordable in my work, but this is I've never had issues with these two for the specific purposes. So you click down here, click connect.
2,000 years later.
Now it's connected. You can see the car is already selected. X3, X3M. It has all the series if you have a different car, so I believe the process is about the same for all other cars. Then I click continue. And you can already hear the car made a chime. Again, another chime. So it's basically saying that it's connecting to the car. And now it's going to take a little bit of time to connect to the car and read all the sensors it needs to read. You can put this on a tether if your battery is weak. It might be a good thing to try because you don't want to break your ECU when you're doing this coding changes. I think my battery for now it's pretty new. It's okay. No issues. I don't live in the cold as well, so the battery should be in pretty good condition. And here we are. So these are all the control units that the car can read. So from all these, you might be confused where to go for this specific, because you might think, oh, I have to go to the instrument cluster. That's not the case. We need to get the head unit, audio display options, iDrive system, video. Head unit, it's HUMGU. This is what you're looking for, especially in the expert mode. If you don't have these options, maybe your app is giving you something else, or using a different app, you're looking for HU_MGU, right there. So let's give it a second. Okay, so now that we're in the actual coding side of the car, so this is what BimmerCode gives you access to if you don't want to go into the expert mode. Mine might look a little bit different than your car because I've done some changes, but the next important part is right here. We want to go to expert mode. You can back up the coding if you want to, but we want to go to expert mode. I'm not going to change anything, so I don't need to back up anything. I just want to show you where to go. So we go to expert mode, it gives you a warning, click continue, and we're here. So this is an important part. This is where you have to go. You have many different control units, but you want to go specifically to the first one, HMI speech. You go here, and you have a lot of options. You might get scared, you can see how many. You might get scared, but you need to look at two options, and they're very simple. The first one would be display menu configuration engine sound. It's about, I don't know, like an eighth down, but this is what it says. It's a pretty long option, so if you're scrolling, you can kind of, focus on that. You click on it, and you're gonna see mine is enabled. Yours will be disabled, so all you have to do is click to enable. You back out of it. You don't need to code anything just yet, and you continue scrolling. And then you have display configurability engine sound. This is the second one you have to click. It's about, not as far, it's about the same, like, I don't know, like a fourth down at this point. So you click on it, and you can see mine is active. I guess you can have it active in no sport or not active. I selected mine to be active all the time. Now that you're done, you back out of this, you back out of the control units, and you click. If you have the changes, sorry, I went too fast, but when you're inside, there'll be a button that says code. I believe it's typically up here. You program the actual changes. So it codes the car. It's the same thing as if you're like coding anything that BimmerCode provides. After you make those changes. Once that's done, here's where the fun part starts. So let me disconnect everything of the car and I'll be right back. So now that we've done the coding part, the hard part is where do you find this menu? So let's go to your infotainment system, and right here you're gonna see a couple things: media, communication, navigation, car, and apps. You want to go to your car settings. So we're here, this is the main side, and you can see here you have multiple options. It says settings right here. So you go to settings, and these are multiple options down here. You care about general settings, and then you have many iDrive settings. You just scroll all the way down to vehicle settings, engine sound. You click on that, and you can tell mine already has, and it's actually selected in its proper mode. So typically on a stock car, you will have, depending on driving mode, this is when you change the modes, like eco, comfort, sport, sport plus. That's when the valves open depending on this mode. You can have balanced. Balance basically says engine sound in all driving mode, which keeps it pretty quiet. And you can have reduced. I believe this is what eco uses as well. But the main point, or what we unlocked, is the sporty mode. And what does it say? Let's go to sporty. And it says sporty engine sound in all driving modes. This keeps your valves open all the time. You don't have to unplug any fuses, you don't have to do anything. This is all you need to keep the valves open at all time. It doesn't matter what mode you're using. If you want to care about the mode you're using and the valves opening depending on the mode, you use this. But sporty is what you need to program. It's a great feature. I'm not sure why they don't have this from the factory. The car should have came this way. So now what I want to do for you guys is I'll put the camera in the back so you guys can see the difference of sound, and you can hear the valves opening and closing depending on what we select. And honestly, to keep it simple, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go between sporty and balanced, because depending on driving mode, this is, again, depending on how you select the car. So if you have Sport Plus or Sport, the valves will be open a certain way. If you have the other modes, they'll be open one way. So the biggest difference will be between balanced and sporty. I want you guys to hear the sound difference and also listening to the valves opening. So let me start the car first, and then we're going to go through everything. You guys heard that. That was the valves basically opening in sporty. So right now the car is done warming up, and this is in sporty. The valves are open. So let me show you some sound. So this was in sporty. I woke up the neighborhood and the dogs. So now let's switch to balanced, and this should close the valves to their minimum. So you guys could hear the difference, right? It was a lot quieter in this. So let's go back to sporty for one final go. And you can hear the valves opening, the little kst, and then how the sound changes. Let me give you one last hit and we'll call it a day because I'm waking up the neighborhood. So guys, I think you noticed the sound changes. You could hear the valves opening and closing. I think this is the best thing you can do to your car if you want to have control of the valves, and especially with the CXZ exhaust, if you're using the OEM valves and using a splitter to connect to the secondary valve. Basically, you have the same functionality of the stock one, but controlling both valves for the CXZ exhaust. The aftermarket valves that you get with some of the exhausts, I believe, maybe like Valvetronic and so, they use their own valves, so you can't really directly plug in the actual sensors or connector. I think there was like a splitter you have to do and something like this. So I don't think you have the same functionality. So you have to be very aware of that. I do think you can switch the valve eventually, but I don't know. I don't have experience with that. I can't recommend that. Specific of the factory setup and the CSZ exhaust, this is what you can do. Especially for the factory, I think it'll be beneficial for you guys to, they want to get more sound, don't want to remove the fuse, don't want to disconnect the valve. This will be the way to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You heard some of the noises. I hope you enjoyed the noises too. The exhaust with the valves open sounds phenomenal. It's so refined, it's so good. I can't, for $800, you cannot beat this exhaust anywhere. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully it gave you a different perspective of something else you can do to your car that doesn't cost a lot of money. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.